So one of the intentions of today's program is to provide parents, to provide our juveniles with information that they can make healthy decisions. Yes, so that they can make healthy decisions. Now, there are a number of factors that can lead to juvenile delinquency. And we have realized as law enforcement that the home front plays a pivotal role in terms of how children grow and how they conduct themselves in the society. Growing up, it was a very popular principle to hear your mother or your grandmother or even a neighbor or aunt. They would often say that charity begins at home and travels abroad. So the home is a place where that child will be nurtured, where they will be given information that will influence the type of person that they will grow into. And so if you have a home, for example, where the parents is constantly fighting, cursing, engaging in antisocial behavior, then it's quite possible if the child is exposed to that every single day that he may grow into a young person that reflects that type of behavior. And so we have discovered that you cannot have a real conversation on juvenile delinquency without addressing the situation of the home. Now, I'm very pleased, as I say again, that my guest is here, and I know that I started without her. So at this point in time, I want to pull her or rope her into that conversation. We are looking at the factors that lead to juvenile delinquency, and I was expounding on violence at home. I will open up now for Corporal Mitchell to introduce herself and to extend that conversation.
Pleasant good morning to the listening public of Real FM. I am very much pleased to be here this morning. It was a little transportation situation, but now I'm here. I would like to share into what Corporal Lewis is saying to you, juvenile delinquency. But first, before we go into the factors leading to juvenile delinquency, I have a little scripture that I walked with, and it says, Psalms 127:3 says, "Lo, children are a heritage of the Lord, and they are the fruits of the womb." Right? That's our reward. And so we have a commission to raise them and raise them well. So I know you already went into juvenile delinquency, what it is. So I will just go straight, as you said, violence at home. I know you're expounding on it. But as you rightfully say, if we are violent at home, we breed violence, okay? So if our children are seeing our reaction, which can be very negative, then that is what they will display when they are not around us, whenever they go to school, wherever possible, that behavior will come out, okay? And it is a fact, charity begins at home and ends, as you say, travels abroad.
Yeah.
Right. So we ought to know how, as parents, we should behave, because our children learn from us in everything. Whether they're small, whether they're 13, it doesn't matter the age range. So we ought to be very careful as to how we display. We have to also look at our conduct, the things we say. Now we realize this society has become very obscene language minded, So all this, children are cussing as well. So this is things that we looked at, as you said, violence in the home. Okay, so.
Some things that, sometimes when you get children and you notice that they're frequenting police station, be it they're fighting in the school, they are disruptive.
Yes.
And you know, a lot of the times we look at those type of offenses, and as we continue to look at that young person, you notice as they get older, the scale of the crimes that they commit actually get worse.
That is truth. Because I can say contributing factor to that can be at an early age. You know, sometimes we say, this is a child, he go grow it out. But there are situations you really have to look into. Because let's take, for example, a parent came to us and said that my son, who is now 14 years, is stealing. When we trace back, at what point did you realize that the child is stealing your stuff? She said 12, 11. But when you really speak with that child, he started from kindergarten.
No intervention.
No intervention. So that is what, as parents, we are calling on you. Sometimes the child come home with the pencil in his bag. That is not his, probably. He can be mistaken. But you have to let him know, this is not yours. We desire you to bring it back. So this is showing him you do not take things that does not belongs to you.
I like the fact that you said that, Corporal Mitchell, because I remember attending school at an early age, and my mother had a policy where she would be checking our school bags, and anything that you have inside of that school bag that she did not buy, you have to bring it back to the school.
Sure.
And you see, when we take those sort of active role for the discipline of our children, paying attention to them, we tend to be able to flag situations that are bad, situations that have the potential to develop into something naughty.
That's right.
But you know, when parents are too busy,
Yes.
sometimes you miss those things.
And some of us are single parenting. You have to get there on time to work. You have to ensure that the children are dressed. So sometimes, as you say, we really miss. Not that we don't want to.
And it's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're looking at other factors, Corporal Mitchell, for juvenile delinquency, and we see a lack of moral guidance and supervision.
That is so. Because as we rightfully says, a lack of supervision, lack of guidance, you know, children would want to tend to go astray. They want to do their own thing. But when you have parents who are interested in their children, parents that can contribute, parents that can show a very good example, okay, nurturing the child at home and, you know, playing a role.
One thing I can say on that subject there, the lack of guidance and supervision. Parenting is a full-time job.
It is.
And you do not get days off.
With parenting, there is no days off. You know?
So every day you have to be on time.
Yeah.
And as you say, we understand that the dynamics of society has changed over the years. You know, back then you would have a situation where the mother probably would have been home taking care of the children. And that is not necessarily the picture that we are being faced with today. Now you have two working parents. Now, the nuclear family that we once grew up in and cherished so much, you and I know that that has been eroded through time, and that is not necessarily the situations most families are faced with. In fact, there are a lot of families that are single-parented.
Single parent, yeah.
And there is that added pressure, but you cannot be so busy doing your own thing that you are unaware of what your children is doing at that particular time.
Yes, that is so, because I believe we can, even though we are busy as parents, there are times set aside that, you know, you talk with them, you find out how they are doing, what is going on with them, and you will observe things with your children, because we have this situation where parents are saying, you know, the child doesn't behave so at home, but sadly to say, Corporal, I'm not sure if they are missing it, but most times we see little things that tells us, no, red flag. We need to work on that. So they must know, you know, you have to teach your children right from wrong.
The thing about it is that it's embarrassing. You see, when you fail to discipline your children at home, and then you're in a situation and that child start to act up, as a parent in that moment there, you might be, let's say you're in the principal's office or you're at the police station and your child is carrying on. It can be embarrassing. But while that child is carrying on, you may even notice that that parent, even in that moment, is not taking or making any effort in correcting the behavior. Instead, what you get is the excuses for the children's action. But when you are firm with children, if you notice that your child is cursing, being disrespectful to authority, now, based on how you discipline that child, would suggest to us the type of discipline that child is faced with at home.
Exactly.
And it's important to set standards for your children and to hold them accountable to that standard. But sometimes, we almost get the impression, Corporal Mitchell, that the parent is trying to be more a friend than being a parent.
And that is so. Because you need to establish, I am the parent and you are the child. You don't need to be a friend to the child. It's not that you doesn't like your child, but you have to know the boundaries are set. Because we see that from time to time, and you're wondering who really is the parent here.
In the situation.
Children speak to their parents in ways, and you're hearing, well, that is the way that this set of people are growing up, and so it is the outspoken respect your parents, respect authority. Respect have a lot to play. Discipline.
Now, I know a lot of the times, Corporal Mitchell, we focus on children with the good grades. And we feel happy as parents when our children do well in school. But I often say, as well as that child is doing in school, if that child is not disciplined, if that child is very disrespectful,
that's true,
it will have a hard time fitting in when he gets older. And then he's asked now to operate in a space, to work alongside people, to work in an environment with rules and regulations.
So the thing is, if you cannot follow the rules at home, schools have rules, homes has rules, your workplace has rules, okay? If you cannot comply with the instructions at home, you cannot comply with the instructions in school. So when you come out in the workplace, what will it be?
And then you have a difficult time adjusting.
So the academics normally will be top up, right, in place. But the attitude, because in the report book, you will see the conduct of your child. If it's an A, B, you have to pay particular attention to these things there. It is important. School is not only to develop academically, but the whole person. When you leave secondary school, sometimes you may not be bright in the subjects, but you achieve things, your attitude, your discipline, So when you come out in that workplace now, the boss may say, well, you may have a little in that education, but I like that person, the demeanor.
Attitude is right.
Yes.
He dresses properly.
Dresses properly.
Take instruction when he's being corrected.
Exactly. You have a good attitude.
And those things holds. And what we are seeing, the young persons that are committing crimes, the young persons that are coming into conflict with the law, is the one that cannot settle in school.
Yes.
Disrespectful to the parent, disrespectful to the neighbors, disrespectful in the community. So we are seeing that respect goes a long way in terms of that child being able to fit and contribute towards the society in a positive manner.
Exactly. And that is very good food for thought. Yes.
We looking at homes. We just have so much side conversation, you and I, as it relates to, young people and how they behave and how things are so much changed as compared to our time when we were growing up. Because back then, the responsibility for, discipline a child was not solely on just mother and father.
That's
An
that's
uncle
true.
would have disciplined you if you were acting in the wrong way inside of that house. A bigger brother, a
Yes.
bigger sister. You step outside of the road and you walk and you did not tell somebody good morning, and they would have reported to your parents. There was even a time when that person would have even disciplined you and take some type of an action. And we have done away with those things and we'll call it old fashioned. But now we have a society of young people that are fighting, that are disrespectful, they are writing nasty comments on social media and all different types of things there. And we recognize as law enforcement that we have to reach out there. We have to speak to parents. We have to speak to our young people and let them know, listen, the time has come for you to take that introspection. Look at yourself. Look at your action. Look at that type of behavior that you are engaging in. This is the type of behavior that we are seeing in our seasoned criminals, and we do not want that for you.
And that is the reason why we intervene as police officers. We have our own children as well. And these things, oftentimes that we're seeing, it calls for concern. So we are here to assist. We are in schools as school liaison officers. The principal teachers will let us know of the behaviors of the children. So we try our best to pull them aside, not to beat them up, because we encourage. We're telling them that you can do better in everything. I can do all things through Christ Jesus who strengtheneth me. And some of them do not know this little, scripture verses. They don't know anything about the Bible. They don't know even anything about the Lord. So we are asking you also to, speak with your children about the Bible. If you don't know, get yourself involved, and that will make a difference. Prayer changes things. I must say that.
I like the line that you went down, because we know that in Grenada we have some schools where we call, they're almost like religious schools. Some we say it's the Catholic, the Methodist, because back then the church played that influential role in terms of the construction of schools throughout the society. And from time to time, we go to the school and you would hear the parents, the teachers tell you that the students deliberately going to skip the periods where they know that devotions would be taught. And I have realized that the only type of system that's going to work, Corporal Mitchell, is one where parents and teachers are of the same mindset.
Certainly.
So as a parent, check in the school. Find out what time your son or your daughter is arriving at school. If they are leaving home at the appropriate time, and yet the principal is saying that your child is a habitual late comer, then obviously you have to see that something is wrong. You need to ask a question. If you're leaving home at the appropriate time, why are you arriving late? What is causing that? Get involved in what your children are doing. We do not want to see them go wrong the wrong path. Now that devotion and that learning about God, learning about yourself, learning to have respect, learning how to treat your peer, it makes a difference.
Exactly.
You are less likely to get yourself engaged in some school fight or some other type
Some
of
negative,
antisocial
yes,
behavior.
Yes.
It's important to have that spiritual foundation. And I like the fact that most of the schools in Grenada, they don't just concentrate just on teaching you or to get an academic education or so, but they also looked at shaping the total person.
True.
And that is important.
It is.
Let's look at some other factors that contribute to juvenile delinquency.
We are looking at substance abuse, right?
That's a big one.
It is. And we know that from time to time, children, marijuana, they get involved in the smoking habits, drinking alcohol, even on the school compound. You look at your child and you'll see the behavior has changed, and you're wondering, well, what is actually taking place. So that's why parents have to be so conscious. You have to be looking. You cannot like turn your face and say, well, they could make it on their own. No, we have to be there. And with this marijuana that is taking place now, it's a no-no.
I'll say this
It
much.
is.
I know that societal view on the consumption of marijuana is changing, but I can say this with great conviction that those substances affect that child's ability to concentrate. And there
Exactly.
are illegal drugs, narcotics, if I may say so, that trigger certain type of behavior in children. And when it's hard for that child to be partaking or consuming that and be in a normal classroom. So then the students that are identified as smokers, it is often you hear the teacher describe them as disruptive,
Yes.
angry,
Angry.
aggressive,
Very much so.
and they're
Not suitable to learn.
not suitable to learn.
That's right.
So parents, we often stress the need for you to pay attention to your children.
And in that so doing, the children cannot make wise decision. It's always something negative. It's always something that, coming in contact with the law and that you're saying
Aggressive.
the police don't like us. And it's not that. We are here to help you.
But I like what you said there. You observe that there are parents, when you try to have that conversation, they blame everybody. It is the police fault. The police don't like their child. The teacher don't like their child. Sir don't like their child. Miss don't like their child. But that accountability and accepting that, hey, your child is not necessarily a bad child,
True.
but he's engaging in some activities and some type of behavior, and he needs that intervention.
That intervention.
You see, when we make excuses for our children bad behavior and we don't hold them accountable, then they grow thinking that the behavior is okay until it comes to a point where they might commit some serious crime, and then they become a product of the juvenile justice system.
Exactly.
And we are saying that the action that you take today might be the action that save your child from becoming a statistic, a criminal statistic. And we do not want that. So as law enforcement, we go to the school, Miss Mitchell.
Yes.
We're in the communities.
That's right.
We have in radio programs. We walk in and we're marching in the street and we're trying to reach the children. Those that are at school, those are not at school. I want to jump into something next before we go to the next category. Back then, that there was school liaison, not school liaison, but the school attendant officers.
Yes.
We do not have that now.
No more.
So that role by default falls upon the police.
And as I always say, the police role is diverse. We are here to help your child, help our nation children, because they are important to us.
Now, if that child is not attending school, and I could say that with great conviction, all parents are not created equal.
True.
There are strong parents,
They are weak parents.
and growing up, there was an adage that states that it takes a community to raise a child. And do not tell me that's an old-fashioned statement. I still believe in that.
Though we may believe in it, you realize that it is scarce, because the moment time, with good intention, I would say to a parent, this child was seen in that place and you believe it is not suitable for the child at this time, and I would like you to engage your son or daughter, encourage them, speak with them well so that they can understand why they should not be in that particular area, why they should not move with these friends, because police officers, we see things, not everything, but we can contribute to your child development. And instead of taking it with good faith, you notice it's always, and what she talking about? She should mind she business. But it's not that. You are bringing news. You want to see that child grow well. Because when you have good parenting, your children becomes good product, and then we have a good society.
And I like how you're thinking, and you're thinking broad. It's not just about just raising a child for now, but you are seeing the future.
Yeah,
Because if we raise them right with discipline and principle, that is a good teacher you're going to have teaching.
it is.
A good doctor,
That's right.
a good police
A
officer,
good police officer, a good nurse,
a good
a
nurse,
good carpenter, a good
a
fisherman,
good fisherman.
a good farmer, you know? And so it is that as community, we wish that these days can be here. Maybe it's
You know,
there, but
I know we have become really, really, really sensitive as a people, but be sensitive for the right things.
yes,
If you are sensitive to the point where somebody is pointing out an error in your child or your children, and you're going to curse that person off because you feel they don't like your child, coming down your child. No,
but it's not, you know,
that is not the intention.
that is not the intention. That is
We
not.
are trying to help. I tell you what, you have children, I have children. When you
Yes.
on work, it is very possible that your child could be at school doing something and you're not there.
Yes.
You wouldn't be aware.
You won't be
So
aware.
if somebody drive to your attention, that person is helping you. We need to move beyond this selfishness and this attitude, that sensitivity for the condoning of nonsense. We must move beyond that if we are to raise a society of strong young men and young women.
Exactly.
Let's
I
look at some other
concur.
factors contributing to juvenile delinquency.
Another factor can be poor education.
Uh,
We know that an effective school system, it pays attention to the vulnerable children.
and they are.
Yes,
They
and
are
we are
vulnerable
seeing
students.
it in the schools that the principals, teachers, they are going that extra mile, and we really need to applaud them for this stand that they are taking. It's not that they are looking at only the brilliant children. Okay, I can come and put that work on the board, and I have children who would just do it because they understand. But there are those vulnerable ones, and I'm seeing that they are doing that, and I say kudos to them, you know.
We know that if a child is struggling in school, sometimes he's going to be picked on, sometimes
Yeah.
he's going to be laughed at, sometimes he's going to be bullied. And that child most likely would be thinking, school is not the right environment for me. So when the school pays attention to that child and say, we love you, give that extra class, ensure that that child becomes part of the school books program.
Yeah.
If there is a school feeding program, they speak to the parents and they say, we understand things are tough with you, but let the child come to school. We will try and feed them into the lunch
And we're
program.
seeing that. Schools are doing that.
And
eh?
it helps.
Yes.
Now, that child that is struggling there now feels love, feels accepted,
Yes.
feels like somebody cares.
Somebody cares. And when you know and feel that person's care, somebody care, miss cares, the principal care, you know, they always the drive that you want to.
And you know, this could be a deciding factor whether or not in school.
Yes, that can be. When they are picked on, you don't care, you show give a don't care attitude, that child will not want to come to school at all. They will be dropouts, you know, and that will breed criminal act because they will find whatever way to get themselves involved in things that they may come under scrutiny of the law, and so find themselves doing things that they will be arrested, and we don't want these things.
You know, we see, Corporal Mitchell, that when the children drop out at school and they are school age, nobody's going after them, nobody's reporting the situation. Now that child is in the community and is left on his own devices. And I firmly believe in the adage that states that idle hands is Satan's workshop.
That is true. It is.
That free time, that
free
child
time.
sometimes indulge in all different type of delinquent activity. So it's important that we, in order to prevent juvenile delinquency, that we ensure that our children that are of school age are attending school. And it requires a partnership, as you say, between the school, the
And
parents,
yes.
community, and the police. We realize that it shouldn't always be left up to a weak parent or a parent that is struggling or a parent that is not at that place where they can make healthy decisions. It is very, very, very important as a society that we take on the approach that let's help.
Let's help.
Let's be our brother's keeper on the issue. And when we do that, I believe we will be able to, even if we can prevent juvenile delinquency to the fullest extent, but at least,
We will be able to make some form of contribution.
and if we do that, I think we can be pleased at the ending of the day that we have made a positive contribution towards our children becoming young persons that are able to contribute towards the society.
Exactly.
Are there any factors again we can look at?
Peer pressure. Big factor.
Big one. And I know peer pressure. I must say I'm from St. Patrick. And growing up, sometimes, when you speak to children, they have the opinion that you do not know what you're talking about. But Miss Mitchell, we was faced with pressure too.
Exactly.
There were negative influences all around us, just as it is today.
I think that, yes, it is.
And-
And it's just, and it is here today.
It is
Maybe
here.
more so in a greater way because of the social media. We have so many gadgets. We have so many social platforms that our children are left alone and they will see things, right? I will tell my friend and I say, this is things I try already, so what it is, if you want to be in my circle, you have to do what we are doing. And so, not that, children are not bad, but they make wrong decisions under peer pressure.
And we have noticed and we have realized that it doesn't matter whether that child is from what we will call quote unquote good house and bad house,
Yeah.
or rich or poor. All children are faced with pressure.
All children.
And it is important when you're a child because of the cognitive development at that particular moment. They feel like being part of the clique is so important.
And children, I realize all the school visits, all the community walkthroughs, that children tend to gravitate to the things that are wrong most of the times. And you often wonder, well, why couldn't the child stand with the group that said no against compared to the group that are, saying yes to the wrong?
And it's the pressure.
And you will talk to them, and the child will say, Miss, but I just want to be around these bad boys. Or I just want to try the smoke.
Because a lot of the times these are the popular kids
Popularity.
that are engaging in those activities. That's why I usually counter that by saying, Corporal Mitchell, be involved in the activities that are important to your children.
Exactly.
Have some knowledge of who your children, friends are.
And as you say that most parents, to me the majority is just a handful of parents that knows everything about their children. The friends, who they line with, where they go after school, why they are going there, and the majority, it calls for concern because it's like a don't care attitude. But how can you not care? They are our children. And when it comes down to the incident or something happened, parents are responsible, Corporal Lewis.
Parents are responsible for ensuring that the children under their care attend school. And there is no excuse will be made where that is concerned. That's your responsibility. Your children are yours to protect. We say that here, community gonna stand with you. The police gonna stand with you. The school system gonna stand with you. But that core responsibility, that pivotal responsibility lies with you as parents and guardians to ensure that the children under your care attend school, that they conduct themselves properly. And we're saying, don't be so thin-skinned and so sensitive that when somebody point out something to you and say, you know, I noticed your child was engaged in that, don't curse them and get on. Listen. Check it out for yourself. Be involved in your children's lives. Be supportive.
Don't tell a child, this lady say, you know, they have a way to address it and it breeds a bad
contempt, bad spirit is created.
Not like that. Bring it out. Even if you said, you know, son, I got a report on you today from the officer who saw you, and this is what was stated. Why were you there? You know that. Have conversation.
And it's important.
It is important.
It is important. Ultimately, the intention of the police is to play its role and its path in ensuring that our young children do not become victims of crime. We don't want them in the system. Yes, we could talk about the juvenile justice system, and we'll have a little conversation on it. I think we have about 10 minutes, and we're going to probably jump into that. But it is important that before we even get to the justice system, that we engage in behavior that steers our children away from that. You know, I know we talk a lot about the factors. Let's look at some of the solutions to juvenile delinquency and how we can help.
Well, one of the factors that we look at, we have programs. We have social groups, boys club. We have the police boys club coming on stream once more. The schools are calling for the cadets, which they know and believe that can assist, and having conversation with the person in charge. We were told that all schools, secondary schools also will be involved. And in soon time, girl guides also. And we have different groups. Community groups are important in that aspect because it will, you know, bring our children on board, cause them, the adults in the community that are interested in speaking with our young people. We are looking at that also.
I like what you said, because I notice that apart from the police, there are young people that are looking at what is taking place and they are not happy.
They are not happy.
And they want to stand up and they want to play a role in ensuring that they could be supportive, provide the children. You mentioned that. What about sporting programs too?
Yes, well, we're seeing the footballs. The different school has the footballers that are practicing now. We have the different sporting activities, netball, just name it. Because to me, they are also seen, as you rightfully say, that place where we need to support our children. They are going on a path, and this interaction gives discipline. It helps.
Yeah. What about other solutions?
Well, as the police also, we are looking at ways into developing, having programs, as I said, to reach out, walkthroughs, speak to our young ones, you know, bring them on board, and all this matter.
You mentioned the walkthrough. I noticed recently that the police, we have been hitting the communities heavily, even in St. Patrick.
Yes.
Speak a little bit about that, because I know some work would have taken place in terms of the community approach in St. Patrick.
Yes, we realize that some of the communities, communities like River Sally and Mount Rose and, you know, Mount Rich, you know, they are having little challenges, right? And we sat with the officer in charge, and we looked at ways, because we want everyone to love one another. We want to reach out. We want communities to live good.
You know, when we are doing those walkthroughs, some of the comments that we get sometimes, people say, hey, I didn't know police just speak to people outside of when they're in station. Sometimes they act shocked.
Yes, and we see that. But the good thing I like is that they are welcome. They welcome the police. They welcome us to come back, and the initiative. They are glad that we want to bring all the communities together that we can sit and talk and play and do not have that friction, because we all need to be happy. We all need to live in love. And so I really commend the Sortes Police Station also
Yes.
for that initiative.
I-
And today we are out on the field again. I believe we're going to Plains
Yeah.
because I think we're looking forward to the 25th of October, where we will have that activity fun day
The Unity
in
Fun Day.
Plains with all the communities. And I really appreciate and I'm grateful how they respond.
I have to say,
Yeah.
I was tremendously surprised at how welcoming those communities are. Because, you know, sometimes there are lots of reasons why sometimes there's distrust between the community and the police. And it is always important that police execute their duties with respect for people in a professional manner.
Yes.
Somebody could be doing something wrong, and based on how you approach and how you deal with them, that incident there, that moment could make that person reflect and change their behavior. You see, they may not like being locked up, but they like the way that the police reach out, speak to them, encourage them, say, listen, make a change.
Make a change.
And police must not always just come out aggressive to people. Show that love and that support for people, that human side of policing. And I agree with you, and I've taken the opportunity to just thank the officer in charge of the Sortes Police Station, Inspector Bidu. You are doing a wonderful job, not just coming from us, but we're getting that feedback from the community. And we thank your management team for being so passionate about community building and community development.
I too share the same.
Yeah, I think we have about 5 minutes let's take one last solution and then we go sort of recap before we ultimately come to an end.
So before we went into our last statements here, we were talking about our peer pressure and what you were saying about the parental involvement. So that was going to be one of my next factor, lack of parental involvement. And well, we went through it, and so we will look at our socio-economic factor.
Yeah,
That,
you know there are some rough communities.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then, all these things, while crime exists in all neighborhoods, there are more cases of delinquent activities in poor areas.
And you know, I just say, Miss Mitchell, there are some communities that pride themselves on negative behavior.
Yeah.
And they are almost proud to the extent where you will hear a child say, well, I'm from so and so community.
Yes.
And there is this glorifying of criminal activities and criminal behavior. But we are saying to young people, you are intelligent,
Yes, they are.
you are bright,
They are.
you are beautiful, you can be anything. The question was asked, can anything good come out of Nazareth? And the Savior of the entire world came from that place. And on that note, we encourage you and we say, do not just say, I'm from Montreach, so I should behave in a particular way. I'm from Shantimel, so I should behave in a particular way. Set standards for yourself too. Have goals too. As a mother, as a father, you may not have the economic power to give that child everything that they desire, but teach them the fear of the Lord. Let them know that, hey, you may not have everything, but I'm standing with you.
Standing with you.
Attend your classes. Think about the future. Because if you put that effort now, your tomorrow could be far different. You could be on top of the world.
Certainly.
Having that parental involvement, it really helps in
It really
the
is.
love of a supportive parent. It makes a big difference. I remember a time I went to my daughter's sports, Miss Mitchell. And when she turned around and she see me there, she was so happy. So parents, don't be so busy that you don't have time to spend with your children. Because if you are not there to support them, somebody else might be providing that influence. Miss Mitchell, you have 1 minute to wrap up.
So we just take that time. I just take that time to thank our listeners It is a very good program, and we are calling on parents to show support, be involved in the daily running of your children. Go to the schools and find out the schools are open. You can go there dressed properly, though. We are having this sort of concern when you're going to visit your child. You want to go there modestly, right?
Yeah.
So take care of them and train them up. Continue to encourage them, be there. And as I say, let's give support. Our offices are open. And mind you, we are not the police officers who arrest. We are those that encourage. So you can bring your child and say, officer, I need some intervention. And we will do what is best. So thank you very much. We are here to serve you.
Yes, and I'm giving that last word, something that you mentioned. I just must address it before we go. Paying attention to the report book, the section that speaks about your character and how your child behave. That is as important as the grades. So parents, be involved, pay particular attention. If you listen to the theme of today's program, it was parents supporting the children, guiding them, helping them to make good decisions, ensuring that they do not walk the wrong path and become victims of crime. That is important. So we encourage you that throughout this week that you would practice some of the things that you hear on this program. And we want to invite you to tune in next Thursday, same time, same place, for positive discussion. I must say, Miss Mitchell, I think you coming back, breath of fresh air again. And I'm very, very, very pleased to have you back.
Yesterday, my aunt I was walking in the village, and I have an aunt that lives there, and she said, I'm hearing you on the radio. I heard you on the radio program, and I was like, really? And she said, yes, but I want the public to know that they can comment on anything, and we are grateful for same. Thank you.
Thank you, and we're saying goodbye. Same time, same place next week. We're looking forward to further conversations with you.
Thank you.
Sorry for edging it.
Entertaining and first. Every hour on the hour.
This is the latest news update produced by Triple N. Details when we get back.
M&M Hardware Limited, Hope St. Andrew and Dusty Highway, St. George. Shop conveniently for all your building materials, including plumbing, electrical, lumber, cement, steel, and much more. We manufacture roofing sheets available in 11 colors, aluminum windows, doors, insect screens, and hurricane shutters. Installation services are available for all our manufactured products. Our opening hours are Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. M&N Hardware Limited. Come on in and experience our affordable prices, or call us 444-6757 or 440-6757 Dusty Highway. Email us at info@mahonhardware.com or mnmdusty@mahonhardware.com. M&N Hardware, foundation to roof. Let's build together.
Welcome back. Locally, furniture and craft makers, farmers and youth are invited to submit their applications to participate in the Bamboo Development Training course in Grenada from November 7th to 21st, 2023. The 2-week training, which will be held at the Youth Center in Montrouge, will utilize bamboo production techniques for furniture and other building material. In the region in Trinidad and Tobago, the Children's Authority is again urging parents and guardians to put the safety of their children first after the death of 2 young children on Sunday and Monday. We get more in this report.
On Sunday, 5-year-old Amari Jeffrey of LaBray drowned in a pool at Fun Splash Water Park, Day Bay, where he was attending a birthday party for his cousin. He was accompanied by his mother and other family. 5-year-old Shazade of Glenville died 5 after she suffered 10-degree burns to 25% when she stumbled in the path of a boiling pot of lentil peas her grandfather was cooking for her. Shazade had her mother and other adults close by. The authority is advising that activity Activities where children are involved should be conducted under the careful supervision of a trusted adult. The authority noted that children who lack proper supervision are more exposed to acts